Hello, hello. Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba. Yeah, I need to.
Hey there, Shopper Maniacs! You're listening to another episode of the Shop Talk Show. I'm Dave, Incremental Render Rupert, and with me is Chris, Client Side Coyer. Hey, Chris, how are you doing today?
Oh, I don't like my name.
Sorry, I gave you the less
That's
performant
okay.
one.
That's okay. And we got friend of the show, Fred, on. What's up? What's happening, Fred?
Wait, what's my new nickname?
Oh, let's see. I mean, I think you're Fred server side shot. I mean, right? Like,
Let's go.
I feel like that's it, right? Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Mm-hmm. We, just as a recap, I knew Fred from back in the SkyPack days, which is their little like NPM thing, RIP, where you could link to stuff from NPM that was already kind of pre-built. It was very useful to CodePen, but that's okay. There's some successors in place now that are doing a good job with that, and kind of don't blame you for passing the torch on that one. And then before that, Snowpack, which is another one of those things that was before its time of like, I'm going to pull stuff from NPM, make your build process a little more efficient and stuff, was a genius thing. But you had for a while, you had a bad habit of like being a little ahead of your time. I think I've heard you say that before.
Being early is the same as being wrong, it turns out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And now, finally hit threw the dart at the bullseye with Astro. Not too early, not too late, and have caught this swing towards, there's too much damn client-side JavaScript. Let's strip all that away, but it's not because we hate JavaScript, it's because we can be more efficient with it, etc. Astro being really a front runner in that kind of next gen of I don't know, I guess JavaScript framework / static site generator kind of things that embrace that.
Yeah,
so
you don't need Next.js for everything is kind of the pitch. Like there are things you can explore other options.
There are other options.
Bold choice, bold statement, bold.
I always feel like I'm well suited to talk about it because I have, I'm a big fan of the Astro and the Astro approach, and I've built some sites in it. Not anything massive, but enough to know my way around and like love the concept of it. Like I can't with the writing when I have to work on PHP sites and stuff. I do all the time. My WordPress life. I just get so annoyed that it doesn't take the same component approach as JavaScript frameworks do. Pick one, any of them. They're all better. I like the idea of passing props around and having my prettier make it look nice and all that stuff, but don't like the fact that I'm forced into client-side JavaScript, and Astro says, oh, you can use any of those if you'd like. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
that's the pitch. Like, can we bring the modern component dev experience to a server-side vibe, to like a Rails, PHP, Django kind of server rendered vibe. Yeah.
The irony being that you're going to do that, and to me, you're going to find that just using Astro components is probably the way to go. Anyway.
You would have no idea. You would not believe how many web components we started authoring as well. Because if you just have this like HTML server language, like, well, why not just throw a little script tag and register a component now? That was a huge surprise for us on our own team. Is like web components are kind of fun to work with in Astro, and like coming from the Polymer team, like I say that with all the respect of what web components are, but like there's a kind of difficulty that is not there in Astro, I found.
Yeah, a lot of like Astro's innovation, I felt like was kind of the like, on load, like render this late or do this late, this is script only. Kind of by nature of a web component right now, you can pre-render or whatever, but like right now they're kind of all late. Like they're all kind of all on load, and they're all very small because you've like you have the component lifecycle as part of the native platform, so you don't even come. It doesn't even come with an extra lib. It's just like purely web component. So.
Yeah, and then of course, like React, Svelte, Vue, they're all there for you to kind of, as soon as you want to dip into that world, create a React app and on the page.
Well, and that it is almost one of the easiest ways to like even play, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to like spin up Svelte kit just to like play with Svelte or something like that. Like I could just like plunk a whatever .svelte component in my Astro if I want.
Boom.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this up because I before we're gonna move past. I'm never gonna remember. Chris, have I ever told you the first like interaction we ever had?
Ever had?
You weren't aware of it, I don't think. It was through another person. I've either told you this story like 5 times, and you're gonna be like, Fred, shut up. Like you've told this story. But
no, I don't. I can't remember now.
Cassidy Williams and I were at a conference together. We were both speaking, and my talk was on. This was Pika at the time, and it was talking about how Pika was really like all the tech of. Yeah, the bundling, the Skypack, like all these tools that we're playing around were really about this like idea of the Great Divide. And I quoted you, I had a slide with your post on it, and it was a big part of like why I found this work so interesting is because I saw this move of complexity kind of encroaching and exactly what you put so well in that post. It was like splitting our community in two, the like JavaScript side and the everything else side. And so I was sitting with Cassidy after I gave my talk, and she was like, "Oh my God, so cool! I just like in our Slack, I just slacked Chris a photo of you," and he said, "Oh, cool, awesome." I was like, at that time in my career, I was like, "Oh my God, Chris knows who I am." I was like starstruck. It was so funny, and then.
I was waiting for it to be much worse than that. Be like,
no, I mean you weren't
told
aware.
Me my talk sucked.
Yeah, you've ghosted me forever. No, this was like a degree of separation. But I remember having worked on that talk for a long time and thinking about this space, and your kind of article was very much a touchstone in that.
Nice.
That vision.
Yeah, Cassidy, that's great. Yeah, we worked together for a while. She was at CodeFin for a while. Maybe it was during that period. Well, that's great. Let's, there's some interesting Astro stuff to talk about with 2.0 and stuff relatively recently, but there's some other stuff we wanted to get into too. Maybe we should do the TypeScript one. I think that's particularly juicy for the top of the show. It's been just this week, it's been a little dramatic, probably thanks a little bit to Kent C. Dodds declaring JavaScript dead. Or what?
You have to learn TypeScript or each, I think was his exact phrasing.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a direct quote, right?
Direct quote from...
A little bit unlike him, but...
Yeah, very nice guy, Kent C. Dodds, came out a little hot. I think we were all surprised.
I've heard it before, though. He's just kind of saying, look, it's one, so... But he was declaring it as an educator that he's going to not do education unless, I think there was some kind of little caveat in there, but for the most part, he's just going to teach in TypeScript. That's been, that's a little near and dear to my heart because I had to make those kind of choices at CSS Tricks too. Like when we publish an article, is it just author's choice? Can they assume post CSS? Can they just write it in less if they want to? And, we probably made a weird call in that generally if somebody wanted to use Sass, that was okay, but we kind of drew the line there, and that nothing else. Ideally, you'd do everything in just regular CSS, because then it's applicable to anything. If somebody were to be using less, whatever, CSS is valid less too, they could use that or refactor it how they wanted to. And so picking a specific technology for education is tricky. And for a long time, I felt it was more in vogue to not use TypeScript because it was a significant hurdle. And I'll tell you, in my experience as a developer, I have a memory of going to a hackathon once where we had an idea for a hackathon, but instead we just got TypeScript set up and we didn't even finish that, and then we all went home. And I was like, well, that was a huge failure.
Please tell me it was like for charity, because that's exactly... Yeah.
Oh, it was something for the city of Bend or something we were trying to work on. And we didn't get anything done.
Public service
But that was a number of years ago. It's since gotten a little bit easier, and I'm starting to soften my view on it a little bit. And because there's very little JavaScript that you write, and certainly not none, don't quote me weird on it, but so much JavaScript gets processed anyway. there's something that it's going to go through, and to just like make TypeScript an additional one of those, or have it be the thing that's processing your TypeScript, isn't that weird?
Yeah, I think Kent's audience is very front-end focused, and yeah, any front-end tool I'm aware of supports TypeScript with zero setup. That's very different than if you were like server-side Node. Yeah, that's a whole extra step that you're then forcing your education content to require. Like you said, I can spend a whole day trying to set it up if you're not familiar.
It's changed. Dino is just, you don't even do anything. You just ship the TypeScript. It's amazing. And we were looking at vtest the other day. It was just kind of the same thing. Your tests are just .ts files. You don't even see .js files. You're like, holy crap, that's cool. The tide is changing a little bit, and that the expectations for TypeScripts are a little bit better. I know it's near and dear to you because I believe I read in some of the Astro blog posts recently, maybe about the 2.0 release, that you've embraced it a little more heavily than you have in the past. So we could get into that a little bit. Talk about it positively. I think you even retweeted Kent. So yeah, a little implied endorsement there.
See the state of JS survey results on this exact question. Are you writing JS?
We did. We kind of tried to avoid it because it was like every podcast in the world was covering it, and it's a little bit like, it's dudes with extra time on their hand that filled that out.
No one talks about the like bias of that audience, but I do think that it is still in a state of JS survey to have the majority of people writing all 100% TypeScript or mostly TypeScript is that no matter what the bias, that's a wild stat to me. I think there's got to be something there about it, and it's a shame because it was the first time they were asked, so you can't compare the trends because at least then you get to see the kind of momentum of that trend. But,
there's been other surveys in the past. Years ago, we were starting to see TypeScript be way higher up these type of surveys than you'd ever expect. It was 50% or something 3 years ago, and you're like, wait, what?
So Astro takes this really unique approach, which is because we have our own kind of like stealth review. We have like the .astro component, so that's where you get to do all this cool. It feels like HTML, but it actually is a component like Reactor Stealth. So you get that's us drawing that kind of DX of modern dev with a HTML template, which we're combining those two things. But there's this place in the Astro component where you can write server-side code that's going to run in the server, and we give you that as like essentially this little, hey, go write your code here. What's really unique about Astro is that the code fences, exactly, and what's unique is that is TypeScript. It's not like, oh, you can opt in or opt out. It is TypeScript. It is always on TypeScript, and we get away with that. And like if anyone listening is like, oh, I hate TypeScript, turn it off. Like TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, so because we're handling all the logic of that, the building, the bundling, the transpiling. If you just want to write JavaScript, you can actually do that. Like it will fully be supported. You set your TS config settings on low. We'll default to that for the people who don't want it.
That's true and great, but what about that always seemed conceptual to me. It's like, yes, it's a superset, but it's so encouraged that you have like no implicit any turned on and like your ESLint stuff. So like that right away, then it's not, because all your JavaScript is a bunch of any everywhere, and it starts bitching at you. So no, it's actually not.
Yeah, no, it's kind of on us to then actually practice what we preach there. Like there's in our setup in our create Astro kind of to get started, npm create Astro is how we push you. There's a question there: do you plan to write TypeScript? And that's how we kind of ask it. If you say yes, you're going to get the strict settings, any warnings, all that stuff. If you say no, we're going to give you like the most out of your way settings. Yeah, you implicit any's, go for it. Like whatever you want to do. Our goal would be that if you saw a red squiggly due to some sort of TypeScript only thing, that would be a bug.
Okay.
That's the line we're trying to walk. It's tough. It's not perfect, but that's the line we're trying to walk. If you don't like TypeScript, you're never even going to notice that it's actually TypeScript behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's nice. You are on a weird tightrope because there's the code that you write as Astro contributors. That should just almost definitely be TypeScript because you're going to get all this safety crap of it, and then as I consume your APIs, I get all the cool stuff like, what does this function mean? And that like DX experience is absolutely better. But you're also authoring a thing that's saying, now please write code for us, which is a different kind of situation.
This is much more fast. This is where I think this all heads. Actually, just as I was at JS World Conf last week in Amsterdam, gave a talk. I don't think it's public yet. Maybe by the time this comes out. The whole talk was on like, if JavaScript is eating the world. That was like the meme of 10 years ago. TypeScript is eating the world. It's like the meme of right now. What we're seeing now is TypeScript APIs, like type safety seems to be the thing that's coming next. And what I find so interesting, so what I mean by that is like the big feature we launched in Astro 2.0 was when you're working with Markdown, we're actually going to give you a type safe API. So you put a typo in your like Markdown that you're fetching it from, you're going to get an error. If you say give me the blog post title and you misspell it or title doesn't exist, like we're actually type checking all of that so that you don't get that weird like undefined not found error. It's actually like if one of your Markdown posts doesn't have the property you expected, we will warn, we will error, we will tell you exactly where to
Little
look.
trade-off though. Does that mean I have to write a schema? Which
Yeah, exactly.
That's a little bit of extra onus on me. But
You don't have to, but to get that feature, you're basically saying like, I will give Astro a schema and then it'll verify at the file level so that you can then trust that it's there when you go into the template.
and is schema the right word? I just said that, but is it actually a TypeScript type?
Yeah. No, it is. It's this really cool library called Zod. So this is where I think the part goes, because closing this loop, closing this circle, is that you don't actually have to write any TypeScript still in this story. You're using this library called Zod. You're using our APIs. We're doing the work to hook it all up with TypeScript for you. So even the user who never wants to write TypeScript is still going to get that type safety, the autocomplete, as they start typing the collection name, they're going to get the drop down of, here's the API documentation, here's what's expected. There's all this really cool power, and you never actually have to write TypeScript to get it. That's, I think, where this goes, is starts to bring type safety, regardless of whether you write TypeScript or not.
So I've been hearing a lot about this Zod, partially from y'all because you're like, look Zod, but more than you are talking about it. I cannot wrap my freaking head
Is
around it.
Zod powered by Zig?
Zod is, that XKCD graph where there's like all, the entire internet powered by, and then there's just one little brick in the middle that's
Yeah,
like
the
one line.
Core.js guy just cited that. Yeah. But,
Zod is that brick.
okay.
All these cool projects, so our TypeScript, our TypeSafe Markdown, PRPC is another project. God, I'm blanking on that. Tan Stack Router, there's all these projects that use this because it lets you create a schema using the TypeScript API, a JavaScript API, but then it auto-generates the types for you automatically. So you can basically get the type information from the code that you wrote, the schema that you wrote.
See, I'm into other types. Here's kind of the broader story, right? When y'all talk about DX, you get DX, dude. Like, you mean Visual Studio Code powered by Microsoft?
I'm picturing you skateboarding across the screen. DX, dude, radical.
DX, yeah. Like,
no, I don't think that's true. We just had WebStorm support launched. The JetBrains team launched that. It is like you need a good IDE, but even Vim, we have Primeagen has been beating that thing out of making sure that the Vim support works. Like we have a lot of different editors supporting Astro.
okay, so you're typing and stuff like that. That's gonna cascade to other editors. Because a lot of times I hear it used and you're like, oh man, it helps me in Visual Studio Code. I get a little box that pops up, and that's great. And my question is, what happens when Microsoft or
I didn't play in the beginning, so
and
I
they
guess
release
fair is my fault.
AI search
Giving
engine
away,
that
goals.
is threatening to kill people, or
Have you all seen that stuff as well?
Oh, man.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh my
But-
god, that stuff of like, why do I have to be Bing? I don't want to be Bing.
Yeah, it's like
It was a rank up match.
Existential crisis. Like, how long until my co-pilot has that exact same experience? Like, I don't know. I guess, like, why is there not a push
Hey, gentlemen, my
to
friends,
figure out the
really.
standard? Microsoft proposed type annotations like last year, and then they updated the repo for that in May, and then Ghost Town. Like, why
Okay,
is
really,
there
and
a push to use
I'll
that
get in this
and
field.
not
Listen,
like
listen.
standardize some type of annotations at the TC39 level?
That's a good question. I don't have the. I have been in open source for a long time, but I'm actually a pretty terrible like standards participant. From inside of Google, from outside of it, like it's just a very slow process that I don't think it's as easy as just do that. Like if we took a big bet on a stage 1 proposal that then changes dramatically before stage 2 and then again before stage 3, it's really hard to rationalize that when we have people using TypeScript happily over the last 10 years. I think this innovation pushes that. I think that is always going to be the slower moving target, and I think kind of in a way that's actually really good. Like it's healthy that moves slower.
but are we on a crash course just like import require, where it's like, well, Node has it, so it's good. Like, you know, like where, because that was your whole job, right? Import require for
That
like
was
5 years, right?
Eco Snowpack Skypack was just that one.
That was that
friction
one
point.
job, right? Like, so for 5
Exactly.
years, you struggled with this design choice, this industry movement, you know, and you combated that. Are we doing that again with TypeScript specifically?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. It's hard to say because that standard I think is a year old, and I think the only thing I ever push back on is if someone says this should have, like, TypeScript never should have happened. It should have gone through standards, and I think that's always the wrong way to approach it because to push things through standards, you need a lot of buy-in, and it's really hard to get buy-in for an idea without seeing, like, you need to almost like show people TypeScript to get them to realize, like, oh, this actually is something I want. Like, I remember we were really early. So one of my first jobs was at Fox, and there was this huge philosophical like battle happening, which was that we were introducing Node to the front end team, and it was like a coup. It was like, what do you mean front end developers are going to be writing server side code? That's not how we do things. And it was like, and you're going to be running JavaScript, that toy language, on a server. The back end team was literally pushing that we retrain like essentially 30 web developers on Scala because they were so scared of running JavaScript on the server.
Well, we know Scala scales. It's right in the name, you know.
And anyway, I bring like TypeScript actually at that point was brought up as a like compromise. Like, okay, well, why do you like Scala? TypeScript. Okay, what if we brought TypeScript to JavaScript? Okay, maybe that could, like, that was kind of the middle path there. But even then, there was like a lot of distrust on our team. Like, oh my god, are you gonna basically just like force JavaScript to have types? You're gonna like turn JavaScript into Scala? Like, there's no way that's gonna be a good DX. There's no way anyone's gonna want that. This is gonna be this like compromise where everyone's unhappy. And now 10 years later, that's like very funny to me because I use TypeScript and love it. But at the time, if you told me types in JavaScript, I bet most people would have said, hell no, keep that away from me. As people still do today about that problem. I think you need to show people the light a little bit. If that is, prove it basically, and then if people like it, then they'll want it in the standard. Like that's the best path for standards implement.
Oh, my dog's mad.
That's Scala probably.
Yeah. TypeScript was called. What I like about TypeScript, I will say, is it's a very minimal grammar that you apply to get types in JavaScript, right? I do sort of question, like, is everyone just writing any, like, all over the place, just because they don't know how to do it, or like you're just trying to get the machine to stop griping at you? TypeScript, more like gripe script, right? Am I right? But like we could, you know, there's also other routes like JS doc, right? Like you could like specify types in JS doc or something like that, you know. But you know, I'm very good at writing bad JS doc, so I don't think that's actually super. I can do it theoretically. I am doing it theoretically, but I don't think it's great. But like JS doc doesn't introduce another set of tools. It doesn't put another compiler in the compile chain. It doesn't, you know, like, why aren't we pushing for stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking to someone who likes building tools without permission, so you're getting my bias in this. But I think that is exactly why letting TypeScript flourish is powerful, because it shows, it's undeniable, I think, that users want to be writing TypeScript over JS doc. If they wanted to write JS doc, they'd be writing JS doc. Like, you have this like will of the people that is being expressed through this love of TypeScript that I think you can ask that question of why don't they want to write JS doc? Why is TypeScript a better sell? But you know, plenty of resources over like 20 years now have been put into JS doc. It's not a question of like, if only we just added this feature or that. It's, I think, a much more fundamental JS doc isn't delivering.
I think it's red squiggles.
Yeah.
People love their red squiggles, man. I want to be told when there's a little piece of code that ain't right. That delivers on that experience. That's just.
Did JS doc have that support? I'm trying to remember if I ever had that. Like, ESLint would read your JS doc and complain if, I don't know.
It might have complained about the JS doc, but not in the usage of the function it was documenting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think like, you know, you can do TS check or whatever.
Great show off, yeah. By
You know, and get
Dominant
TypeScript,
versus
like for free or whatever.
Oh my God,
Octane.
TypeScript is such a dream compared to stuff I used to do, where it's like, okay, I hope I can find and replace this, and then you know, dot name. It's like, damn it. That's like, you find that across your code base, there's 1,000 dot names. You're never going to be able to do it. That's TypeScript, get the red squiggly when you rename something. Really helps.
It's unbelievable. We definitely don't have as glowing of an experience of it so far at CodePen. I'm very on the fence of whether this slow transition we're in has been worth it so far, because the pain has been so flipping high. It is, I feel like it's a little different in React land, because when you make a component, a TSX file, and then just, you just have a div in there with some extra props or whatever, the type that you do apply to that document is some kind of unholy union of a React provided type and a special DOM type and additional crap you have to add to it. I'm like, what is the value of this incantation?
Can I just, if we're doing TypeScript, I got my gripes for sure. The worst thing is when you have to change the code you're writing for TypeScript, so I can't do my function name. I have to do const my function name equals function. Because that's the only way I can take the function. Oh my god. Oh, I hate it so much. If I wanted to do const my function,
You have to refactor a whole API to export chunks just to test and ingest or whatever. Yeah.
There is a philosophy I like that the Alex and I team says a lot, is that that your tool should always work for you, which seems simple, but it's very easy to get into that mindset of once you have a tool implemented, that you start working for the tool, that you start making all these choices in your code to appease this tool choice that you made without stopping to reevaluate. Oh crap, I'm all of a sudden I working for this machine, because you need to stop at that moment.
there's absolutely the TypeScript way.
Holy cow. Can I not get my gold back? You have to send me some.
Match how TypeScript thinks about your code.
I
Dude.
find it harder than learning a new language. As somebody who's already writes a bunch of JavaScript,
Really?
so far, I mean, yeah, especially because I just had this journey of learning Go, which I found largely pretty simple. As a, like the syntax is a little weird, but it's typed to.
It's my fault.
There's just not that many intricacies of the,
Yeah, our compilers
you get it.
We're pretty happy with it.
It's fine. And then to learn TypeScript, already knowing JavaScript, that's been like, wait, what?
So it's not a new language. You have to change what you think about an existing language. Yeah, I can see how that. Okay, I get what you're saying.
I took courses for the first time in my life, because I'm very much a learner, just like, I don't know, download the repo and let me just play around with it. Oh yeah, I get it. Like that. I think that's how so many of us learn. And for once in my life, I had to get a course and stare at the course.
I'm
to
fucking
wrap
kidding
my
me.
brain around it.
Well, one more question. Is TypeScript solving a problem or a symptom? Is the problem oh man, I don't know what the data is, or is the symptom, I have too much JavaScript and that's the problem?
Now
That's
you're
the
speaking
actual
my language.
problem.
You know what I gotta say.
So what is, does it solve a problem or does it solve a symptom of the larger problem? We just have way too much JavaScript.
Because it's funny. I think what Astro says is yes, we have a lot of JavaScript, and it's our job to ship less of it to the client. It's not that the fact that you have a big code base is the issue. So I think it speaks to the fact that we're building more and more complex things with JavaScript, with our code, with our websites. The fact that websites are getting more complicated, I think, is somewhere between inevitable and at the very least a neutral thing. I don't think it's bad that that's happening. But I think what we see is well, then you can't just ship that whole code base to the client. That's going to be slow load time, slow performance, slow interaction. That's where we see the issue. It's not that code bases are getting too complex.
Kan nie die kabel eet nie.
We can't just naively ship all that complexity to the user and have them deal with it. So
Meneer.
maybe that's
Meneer nou dit nee.
inevitable that the web is getting more complex. We need to
Geef my
evolve
15 minute.
the idea of an untyped language. Again, if you want to keep using it, I'm not saying if you don't like TypeScript, you must learn it, or your
I like
family will be kidnapped
coercing
from you.
my variables. I love coercing.
But I think that I think TypeScript is the symptom. It is the symptom of more complexity, and now we are looking for tools that will deal with that. With a JSDoc was good, but it never really solved the same problems to the degree that TypeScript does for me.
I like how you characterize the will of the people a little bit. People do what they want to do, and then you can observe that phenomenon.
Yeah.
If JSDoc was so great, people who would be doing it. For the most part, that's true. If nobody's using your tool, it's probably not. I always thought about this with blog posts too. It's nobody has this amazing blog that nobody reads. If your blog is amazing, the people will find it and read it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you will lose your mind in the open source game if you don't understand the will of the people, because, and I think if you don't understand what your goals are, like a big thing is like, you know, Ryan Carniato, someone who I really respect, is like, you know, the creator of Solid.js, and he worked on Marco. Like, there are these incredible ideas in those projects, and like Marco, 10 years ahead of its time, I think, but never really got that adoption. And I think that to look at that and just say, oh, like the people are wrong, is missing the point of like there was something there that didn't connect with people, even though those ideas were
The
incredibly ahead of their
fuck
time.
am I doing?
Yeah, how we started talking about this, like being early is the same as being wrong. That is generally
Yeah, startup people get it, you know. Like if you go to Y Combinator or whatever crap, they're going to tell you that right away. Your little startup should not be TypeScript right away. It should be a freaking Wufu form that says, "Do you want this?" And then you validate the idea or whatever. Or, you know, startups should be a landing page, you know, that kind of validates that this thing is desirable in some way, and you move along from there. I've always had a hard time with that, you know. I have a hard time even doing, you know, planning, because I'm just like, yeah, you know what we need? You know, we get together and talk about, we need this, this, and this, and I'm like, immediately after the meeting, I'm like, code, you know, that's what we need, which is usually not what a project deserves. You know, it needs a little more planning and thinking about and prioritization and all
And I
that.
think people hear this and they think like, oh my god, like the only way is to like, there should still be room for people to go and experiment and just build things because they want it. And like, yeah, this is not at all a doctrine that everyone must follow. I think it's just, you need to know which path are you going down. Are you trying to get users, in which case you really need to understand what users want. There's another world where you can just go and build something because I want to see this thing, goddamn it, this is what I want in the world. I don't care about anyone else. Like, that is also a valid path, and I think we need both of those sides of the coin. One for understanding what people want, and one for pushing the web forward in really interesting ways that people might not even know that they want.
So let's do a little bit of more Astro stuff would be interesting. I found an interesting angle that you've had is that it's somewhat recently, it seems to me at least, I've been a little more comfortable with telling people what it's good for and not good for. Kind of leaning into the content angle.
Oh yeah. I could hear him coming. Kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Fucking 3 games in a row. Fuck you, Sonics. Fuck you. Fucking as it only was trying at it. That's probably why I'm losing. I'm not playing on some other servers. Offline. Oh. Shot. Oh, fuck it. Jesus Christ. Are you fucking kidding me? Fucking EU servers. Fucking idiot. Whole division in this mood. Thank you. Good morning, rush session. Eskom. Psionics. Oh, it's so amazing. I love them to bits. Wish we can have stage 8 now. I'm tired of stage 6. And also, Psionics, please send me some champs or GCs. Please. Ah. See, you know, she didn't go to sleep. She doesn't even want to play with me anymore. Now it doesn't matter. Who is it for? Oh shit. Ah, cock shot.